Hello, my name is Nathan Naresh. I'm in 11th grade, and the category I'm competing in is mobile apps. So, I've created a Malayalam app that helps non Malayalam speakers to learn how to read and write Malayalam. The reason behind why I created this app was over the summer, during COVID lockdown, I had a bunch of free time on my hands and I decided to learn how to read and write Malayalam, which is my native language. As I was learning, though, I realized that this was an extremely difficult language, not only due to the complexity of each letter, but also the sheer amount of letters. Therefore, in order to help others struggling to learn Malayalam, I decided to create an app. With this app, I feel like it makes learning Malayalam a much easier process and more fun to learn. So, let's jump into the app and see its functionality and how it works. So, with this app, there are 6 pages for user UI. 2 home pages, one for the start and one for returning to, a group selection page, a letter selection page, a learning page, and a drawing page. So here's where the sheer size and complexity of the Malayalam alphabet comes into play. There are 15 vowels, 41 consonants, 6 pure consonants, 26 ligatures, which makes for a total of 88 letters. This is obviously more than 3 times the amount of letters in the English alphabet, which shows just how big the Malayalam alphabet is. Furthermore, the groups of pure consonants and ligatures are not employed in English, which is where the complexity of Malayalam comes in, as English speakers have no clue what those even mean. That's one of the main reasons why I created this app to help others learn. So, let's walk through a quick demo of one letter of the 88 that I've coded into my app. So the user clicks on the alphabet button, then they can choose the letter category that they want. Let's go with vowels. And now they can choose a letter by scrolling through this picker. Let's just go with the first one, ah.
Ah,
So the app plays the audio of that letter, and you can hear it again by clicking here.
ah,
You can also navigate back and forth between the letters in order of the alphabet, which is very important.
ah, ah,
And then you can also click Learn to Write to learn how to write the letter. So at the top, you can see a still image with arrows that shows how to write the letter. Below that is an animation that switches through to show how to write the letter in real time. And below that is a drawing space that the user can use to draw a letter, which is what I'm currently showing. So that was just one of the 88 letters that I've coded in, and they all have the same features of picture, audio, and you can draw. So the benefits that this app provides over other Malayalam apps out in the market is that this has sound clips of the pronunciation. So with this, it's very important because you can you can correlate a sound with each image or letter, and that's very important with learning how to read and write. Another benefit is that
ah,
with each letter, there is a word, which in this case is pronounced amma, which means mom. It also shows a picture, which is helpful to those who want to know what each word means. Another benefit is the drawing space. So other apps also included drawing spaces, but with my app, we have an animation that shows how to draw the letter in the drawing space, which allows for users to just glance up and draw the letter, which is very important, as this is truly the best way to learn how to write the letters. Another benefit is the navigation buttons on the letter pages.
ah,
So on this page, you can see in the top right, there's a button that goes to the next letter in the alphabet. It's very vital that you learn Malayalam in the order of the alphabet, because as in English, we learn from A to Z, which is the same in Malayalam.
ah,
So while coding this app, I faced many challenges. One of the biggest and main challenges was that Malayalam has multi-byte characters that are not built into Xcode. What I mean by this is, if we scroll down to the very bottom, we see this letter. So with this letter, the first part is ah, and the second letter has 2 O's with it. So these two little sections of the letter are represented by 2 bytes, which is not seen in English as every letter is just 1 byte, which is why Xcode cannot recognize these letters. In order to overcome this challenge, we had to hard code all the multi-byte characters into the app, which wasn't too much of a problem as there aren't too many, but it still provided a big challenge. Another challenge was that audio and images were too big. So, in order to combat this, we shortened all audio clips to less than 1 second, and images were compressed with an online converter that minimized lossy compression. Another challenge was that drawing does not work on a Mobile Pop page.
ah,
So what I mean by this is over here, when we clicked on the drawing, it came up full screen and it takes up the whole screen. So with Xcode, before, if you don't code in that it has to come in full screen, it will just pop up from the bottom and you can drag down to remove the page. The problem with this is whenever I would draw and I would draw down, the app would think I was trying to drag the page down, which would not allow me to draw. So in order to combat this, I had to manually code the full screen function, which allowed the drawing for users.
ah,
Another challenge was switching from my comfortable languages of Java and Python to Swift. This was difficult as Swift has a different syntax and many different initializing differences with the variables and all the coding functions of Swift. After completing this app, however, I would say that Swift is also one of my comfortable languages, and I am pretty confident in my skills in Swift. Another challenge was adapting items to use for my app. So many of the functions that you see on my app, I had to learn through tutorials. These tutorials, however, would not provide the functionality that I needed for my app, and in order to adapt for Malayalam, I had to come up with creative solutions and adaptive thinking that would allow me to use it for my app. Another main challenge was switching segues to data transfer. So in Xcode, there's this cool built-in feature called segues. This is an easy way to transition between pages, but the only problem is that segues cannot transfer data between pages. In order to combat this, I had to manually code data transfer between pages, which was very important as in order to load the letters, I needed that letter from the previous page to be transferred to the next page in order to load the necessary files and audio clips. So as of right now, my app is completely functioning and all intended functions are working as I wanted. However, in the future, may add word games to cater to a younger audience and keep it interesting for all that are using it. Furthermore, I may add stories in Malayalam for users to practice their reading with, as right now we only have a few letters for each, or a few words for each letter. So all images seen on this app were taken through Creative Commons search, and since this is an educational app with no monetary gain or purpose, this is completely legal within copyright claims. Furthermore, voice recordings were done by my parents, and I have explicit permission from them that I can use their voice recordings. The Xcode version that I used was version 12.4. So now let's take a look at my flowchart and my process behind developing this app. So here's the start, and the user and the app opens. So then the home page loads and the user clicks on the Learn Malayalam button. I load the letter group selection page and the user clicks on the wanted page. And then I load the respective letter selection page, and here is where the user can scroll through the Picker UI to find the letter they want. The user clicks on the Learn button once they find their letter, and then I take that data and I transfer it over to the next page, which is the Learn page. I then use that transfer data to search through all my files and find the respective image and audio clips for that letter. I then ask a logic statement if the letter is in the first or last position. So if the letter is in the first position, I remove the previous letter button in the top left corner, as there's no letter before it. If it's in the last position, I remove the next letter button in the top right corner, as there's no letter after it. If it's neither, I put both navigation buttons in the top left and top right corner, as you need to go back and forth. I then load the Learn page and play the word audio clip. If the user wants to hear that audio again, they will click the play button and it will play again, but if they don't, the audio won't play and it'll move on to the user clicking the draw button. So here, the data from the Learn page gets transferred over to the drawing page. I search through all my files to find the necessary animations and images, and I load the drawing page, and the animation automatically starts for the user to look at to learn how to draw. When the user begins drawing, if they begin drawing, I use an array to track all the points that they clicked on, and I present that through the screen to show a drawing. Otherwise, the app is over. This is only for a letter by letter case, as the app can move back and forth between letters, and this is a simplified flowchart for each letter. Now let's take a look at the code that went behind making this app. So over here is the layout of the app. As you can see, there are 6 pages as I stated earlier. Let's look at the Learn page. So over here is the data transfer function that I was talking about earlier. So with this function, I learned a very important feature of Xcode. You can set a page as a variable, which is a completely new thing to me and I've never learned before, as setting a whole page as a variable is something that I would have never thought of. And it's something that's really groundbreaking to me that allows me to call all the variables in that page as objects of that variable, which is something that is really cool to understand and cool to use. I then can use that variable to present that page and manipulate all the data in that page. So as I stated earlier, there are 88 letters, and to search through all of those would be really hard. In order to minimize this, I would create each word group and I would set all the letters in arrays, in string arrays that would allow me to search through that array and find the letter. I would also have a mirrored array for the words that would search through there and also get the word for that letter. Last but not least, here's where the multi-byte characters came into play. So as you can see here, the first few letters are hard-coded in for their animations and respective images. And towards the bottom, we have this else statement that loops through for all the other letters that aren't multi-byte and gets the necessary images and animation. So even though multi-byte characters were a big challenge, I was able to easily overcome them with hard coding and a simple while loop. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great day.